Well, I think first and foremost, the question that everybody keeps asking, are you guys ready? The simple answer to that is we're absolutely ready. And I really think that the ingredients for us, it's everybody's dream when you play college baseball or you're a coach, is to get to Omaha. And that's the good thing, and it's the bad thing, because you don't really say, let's go win a national championship. Everybody says, let's get to Omaha. Well, now we're at Omaha. And so it's like we've had to readjust our goals, and our goals are to win this thing. The preparation piece of it, as I said, probably couldn't have been better. I mean, people are saying, are your guys going to be intimidated with the venue? Not going to be intimidated with the venue. We played in big stadiums. Are you going to be intimidated with the crowd? I don't know if you were following the Super Regional last year, but that was the most hostile crowd ever. So I think the ingredients are right. We've prepared. We've done everything within our power to put ourselves in a position to be successful in Omaha once we get there. So our kids, I can tell you, are looking at this as an unbelievable opportunity. We're proud to be representing Indiana. It's been fun for our guys. All the talk and chatter about Indiana baseball, haven't heard that in a while. So we're going to do our best to take advantage of this opportunity and represent our school, our state, and really all the alumni across the country, and play some good baseball while we're in Omaha.
First question.
So how do you think you guys are built for the format? I mean, obviously it's similar to a regional, but more spread out with the days in between. How do you think pitching-wise and everything else you guys
I think it's good. I mean, it's certainly an advantage, I think, for the lesser pitching-heavy teams because the days rest in between. But I like it. I mean, I think, it's a little different from the just coming from what we did in the Super Regional, where you're really asking guys to do some different things. But I like it. Our pitching staff has been pretty consistent all year. The one thing I was pleased that we get a little bit of rest, although we got bumped up a day from when we were originally supposed to play. But I think our guys are going to be rested, and we're going to be in pretty good shape when we go into that thing. Our mentality is going to be taking one day at a time. We get a lot of questions about who's the starter and game 2 and all that stuff, and it's like really everybody's going to be available because we're going to try to win one game at a time.
Who's the starter in game 1?
We're going to go Joey Donato game 1. For multiple reasons. I mean, one, I think he's a tough kid. I think he'll handle the environment well. He's had some success against Louisville, and he does a really good job, controlling the running game. And I know that's a big part of what Louisville does. But he's been our go-to guy for the better part of 3 years now, and I think he's earned the right to be in this position.
What, if anything, changes, I guess, in the difference between managing a normal sort of weekend series or Super Regional and when you have the day off in between? I mean, do you change anything?
In terms of pitching staff,
or
or
just in terms of just overall sort of handling the team?
No, our mantra has been and will be while we're there. It certainly was this past weekend in Tallahassee. Is we're going to be who we are. We're not going to go and try to change and do a bunch of things differently now that we're in Omaha and playing for the national championship or playing for a chance at national championship. So I think if you start trying to be somebody else, try to change what your players are used to, that's when you get yourself in trouble. So we're just going to stay with, I said it down there, we're going to stay with who we are, we're going to put our best foot forward, and either we're good enough or we're not.
What does it change in terms of handling the bullpen, especially when you have, at least when you've had a day rest?
Well, I think that's a plus because everybody at this level has, some guys. I mean, we've got plenty of depth, but, even within your depth, you have more depth. And you have some guys at the top end of your bullpen. It allows you to bring some of those top end bullpen guys back in consecutive games because the rest days in between.
Coach, you touched on this a little bit on Sunday, but what has the past week been for this team, and specifically for you and Casey, going through this with your son?
Well, it's been. I mean, that's probably the only time where I don't get emotional. No, it's the only time.
You did on Sunday.
I know it. It's the only time that when you really start to think about that, how cool that is, and then I'm sitting there reading the paper today. When's Father's Day?
Sunday.
I mean, and be sharing Father's Day weekend with your kid in Omaha and not in the seats, as a spectator, you're actually going out and participating in it. I don't know how it can get any better. Well, maybe I can be Griffey and start next to him in the outfield like that. It's probably better. But it's hard to describe. My wife and I keep saying that all the time. And I don't mean to take away from Indiana being what my responsibility as the head coach, because I don't. But as a father, when you just sit back and think about that, it's pretty overwhelming. It's cool.
Is it any more special after the first couple of years for him here?
Well, I know it's probably better this year because he's been fighting injuries and he's been fighting lack of success and he's been fighting me, and they finally listened to me. No, I think anything worth value, it's probably not as meaningful if you don't have those times of struggle, and it's just, and I know it's a dream come true from a parent hat to have your son not just participating on a team but actually contributing in a positive way on a very, very good baseball team. But again, I don't want to make it about him. There's a lot of sons out there, just not mine, that are doing the same thing. And but yeah, I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't the coolest thing ever for me personally.
Last question on that, just how did he evolve as much as he has as a player? Obviously, he came into a totally different role than he has now. How did he get here? Basically, what happened to him, especially this year, to make him the player he is?
Well, he was. I mean, if you recall, after the 2009 season, we were depleted by the draft. The rules were a lot different with recruiting in the Big Ten. Then you couldn't oversign, so we were left, and we lost O'Gara and Jake Dunning, who were going to be coming back in our rotation, and we were very, very thin on the pitching staff. So we'd asked Casey, or I'd asked him. Jamie had nothing to do with it. He graduated early and actually joined us at the break when he should have been in high school. And so I think he wasn't physically ready. He probably, looking back on it, not even probably, he wasn't mentally ready for the college game. And it was, in hindsight, probably the worst thing that ever could have happened to him from a playing standpoint, because if you're not mentally and physically ready to go out in this league, I keep telling people it's an unforgiving league, you're going to get knocked down. And he got knocked down, and I don't know if it rattled his confidence or whatever, but coming back then, he was battling injuries, so he's been hurt. He got it handed to him his first year, but he can always swing the bat. I mean, I know him better than I know any other player on my team. He was a natural switch hitter since he was a little kid. He was a good player. So just really to kind of get his mind off the pitching, we put him out there, and he wasn't a big thought for us in the fall, I will tell you that. But he got stronger, he got bigger, and what I mean by that is he wasn't in the conversations around the office of, hey, Smith needs to be in left or right. He just kind of played himself into that by what he was doing every day in practice. He was hitting the balls farther than his competitors on the team, teammates with competitors by position. He kept making plays, he had some athleticism. We didn't start him at the beginning of the season. I think his first pinch hit, he hit a home run his first swing. Now he gets your attention a little bit, so you get another opportunity. To me, he seized the opportunity. It sure wasn't given to him. If anything, I probably made it harder on him to earn it. So I'm good for him, and and I'm happy for him. He's finally having some success.
Is DJ Demerit? There's a reputation that new park over there is that it's a pitcher's park. You describe that. What's your kind of take on it?
I know the dimensions are a little bigger. We try to compare it, at least in our own minds, to Target Field that we played our Big Ten tournament. That's a big part too, and I think people were saying that first inning. I can't remember which game it was. Ohio State. It was an Ohio State game. We came out and hit one ball to the wall, next ball over the fence, and another ball to the wall, and another ball to the wall. When if we're playing it regular, it's back to back to back. I got a sense from what I'm talking to other coaches who played there that it plays very similar to that. So I just remind our guys that, look, we're the same thing. We're not going to be who we're not. We're going to be who we are, and we're going to, I don't want to say swing for the fences, but we're going to let it out. Because I've had a couple coaches even say, hey, you got to really tell your guys to get on top of the ball and tell them not to hit fly balls in batting practice. And I joked around with him. I said, that's like telling the Pope not to pray. We're going to be who we are. It just ain't going to happen. Our guy, I'm not going to try to change them one week's time.
Yeah, I understand, though, it's the kind of park, somebody who follows college baseball a lot and goes every year told me that if you do have gap power, though, you can be rewarded for it, and that may be where you guys could really fit in.
And I thought about that. I said, we're still going to hit gaps. We're not necessarily a three-run homer team. We're a team that can drive the baseball. I know coaching, again, it's a lot tougher. The teams that we played this year probably don't have the 1 through 7 or 8 that we have that can drive the gap. You get through a couple guys in the lineup and you kind of, good, because this guy's just going to single us, if anything. I do like the fact that we can still drive gaps all the way through that lineup, and I would imagine it's going to play like that.
Tracy, obviously you played Louisville before, but just your impressions on them and the injuries.
You know, and I'd say the Louisville, and not that they played poorly at all during the season. I would say they're playing really, really good baseball right now, better than they played earlier in the season. So I'm not going to put any stock into the fact that we beat them twice during the regular season. And we had a good ball game with them down there, probably gave it to them. But they've been just following what they've done in the latter part of the season. They're probably playing the best baseball in the country right now. So I think our guys will have confidence because they're familiar with their opponent, but we're not going to, we're not going to do the battle cries. If we beat them twice, and it's a whole new season now. They're a whole new team now in terms of how they're playing. So it's going to be two teams that probably going to pitch it and make defense. And I keep saying it, whoever makes those one or two plays during those one or two times in the game that decide the outcome of the contest. But we're looking for, I'm assuming, going to be a very low-scoring game.
Tracy, it's been such an incredible year for IU athletics. How does it feel to be a part of this kind of resurgence?
That's probably, from a program standpoint, a personal standpoint, one of the things I'm really proud of because we talk about that. It's like, and I love it. I mean, what Coach Crean has done with the basketball program, Coach Elmer in track, and JD. I mean, we got guys winning gold medals in Olympics and all the success. It's fun to hear people talking about Indiana baseball, and people talked about it a little, but when you have people saying, "Hey, I was sitting in a game in Southern Indiana, and everybody's, checking their text messages, their tweets, or what is that one app you can do now where you can actually watch the games?" And everyone was talking about following it. I saw something recently, a guy sitting in the stands at Wrigley Field, and it shows him how excited he was in the outcome of the game. It gives you a lot of personal pride to know that, I don't want to say giving back to the university, but being something that your people in Indiana, your alumni all around the country can be proud of.
A lot of people have talked about comparing this, I guess, to the 09 team, just sort of start to finish in terms of the talent, and obviously making the tournament, and this team's gone further. And I know you've talked about the difference between that team and this team. How do you think you're different, I guess? Just do you see differences in the way you approach your team or your job compared to 2009?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all, I think we grow and we learn, from all of our past experiences. My difference would be, probably based off more of the difference in the personality of the team. So I don't want to make it sound like these teams were the same. They're not. Not that the other team didn't have great leadership, because they had some good leadership, but this has been the most low-maintenance team I've ever coached. That in turn allows me to narrow my focus a little bit if I'm not having to worry about distractions on other things. I said we hit a low point in the season. A low point for us was the Michigan State series, where we lost all 3 games up at Michigan State. We didn't play, great baseball, but we didn't play poorly. We lost on 3 walk-offs. And I just remember saying to them after that series, they're looking around, what are you going to say? And then maybe in the past I would have had a little bit more fire and trying to find something to blame, or going crazy on some particular. I don't know. I mean, I used to be a little emotional, but I just remember just basically taking a step back and saying, you know what? I trust you guys. We've been good all year. 3 games isn't going to change the way we are right now. Just know that no matter this result this weekend, I trust you. That's really kind of all we said. I don't know that I would have done that before, but a lot of that is based on the fact that I generally trust this group too. So probably a little bit more low key and just understand it's not me, it's those guys. I don't mean that to deflect responsibility, but it's their team, and I just try to help and put them in position to be successful and then get out of their way.